Thank you, Anand, for joining us today on Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thank you for having me.
So, to kick this off, Anand, let's talk about the wedding landscape in India. What are the opportunities do you see in this space currently?
No, I think every Indian knows how big this industry is. It's actually one of the industries which is similar in size to like big countries like the US, 45 to 50 billion dollars, which you don't usually see. But obviously, a lot of it has evolved, especially post COVID. One opportunity which I think most people are aware of is destination weddings. It's not just a fad or a trend anymore. People across budgets, even if they're having an intimate 50 to 100 people wedding, are looking at potentially considering a destination where a few select close family and friends have an amazing time, rather than it becoming more of a formal affair, right? To obviously the larger than life weddings happen in palaces and on the beaches of Goa, which are massive. For us, obviously, being a tech-enabled platform, we chase a lot of opportunities where technology and digital can disrupt. So, for example, e-invitations. One thing which has happened in the last couple of years is very, very few people believe in sending a physical invite to the entire 200, 250 families who are invited, right? So they're giving a digital invite that has become primary and the physical invite has become secondary. So there are quite a few opportunities and changes in the ecosystem which we are actively tracking and believe in.
So then tell me about WedMeGood. What was your initial motivation to set up the company, and how are you really redefining wedding planning in India?
So we started almost 10 years back. Mehak and I, my wife and co-founder, we got married in 2012. I say this, interestingly, my father doesn't love me saying this, but the reality is that because we couldn't really use any images which our photographer clicked because they weren't that great, that was one of the inspiration behind starting a platform which helps people book people after checking their reviews, detailed work, rather than just relying on referrals of friends and family, right? And obviously, as time evolves, your motivations behind the company change, right? Sure. When we started, we just wanted to put out great content which people can get inspired from and incorporate in their wedding, check vendor reviews so that they can make an informed decision. But now a lot of our goals are, end-to-end wedding being planned on WedMeGood. So when you said, how are we disrupting the landscape? Things like you having a checklist on the WedMeGood app which ensures that you've covered everything, right? A person being able to filter across styles, across budgets, being able to see detailed portfolios of any partner. We invest a lot in review moderation to ensure that genuine reviews are showcased. So these are some of the things which even users speak about, when we hear feedback from them.
Sure. So, Anand, our show, Leaders of Tomorrow, it caters to a lot of MSMEs as well, a lot of independent entrepreneurs. And while the wedding industry, like you said, it's $1 billion opportunity, what's noteworthy is that, it's also, I think it comprises of a lot of small scale businesses, companies, right? Tell me, in your opinion, what is the role of the MSME sector in the wedding industry?
For sure. In fact, the wedding industry, the largest, I would say, concentration of revenue is among the MSMEs. If we've listed about 1.5 lakh merchants across categories, I would say barely 25 to 50 of them must be having firm turnovers excess of 50 crores. There are lots of reasons for that. It's an industry where mass production, which is where typically scale comes from, isn't very easy. It's made to size, it's customized based on a person's individual taste. There are a lot of artists in the industry. So it is primarily comprised of MSMEs, to be honest. And a lot of good artists who, sort of enter the industry over the course of just 4-5 years, become like the next big thing and start charging a very massive amount for their art, which is quite good for them, right? For us as a platform, working with these MSMEs also ensures that we cover a lot of basics which otherwise people might take for granted. So right from verifying the genuinity of these profiles, checking if they've registered their businesses, because users still want to know that it's a genuine brand and they don't want to get fleeced, right? What is the extent of digital payments which they accept? So these are the things which we're working on to sort of overall organize the industry. But Yeah, you're right. MSME is the backbone of the wedding industry.
So speaking of high-profile dream weddings, which you mentioned, so in India, we all love our big fat Indian weddings. But I am keen to understand, what do you think is the economic impact of that? Do you think we are spending a lot more in terms of consumers, or do you think overall it is actually good for the economy? Yeah, this extravagance. What's your take on that?
It's an interesting word you used, extravagance, right? Personally, I would be honest, we don't believe that this is one industry which necessarily is sort of making people overspend as compared to any others. You see, any large ticket purchase, whether it's a TV, white goods, a car, buying a home, right? It is a big purchase. People tend to sometimes spend beyond their means because these are emotional purchases, right?
Sure.
The good thing is that time is passé to a large extent, where families used to pile on tons of debt which they couldn't necessarily service just because of societal pressure that they have to showcase a certain kind of a wedding. It still happens, but thankfully it's becoming lower and lower as time passes, and we absolutely encourage that. If a family has the means to spend and wants to have a great time, a memorable time, because weddings do get families together. I mean, at the end of the day, how many occasions does one remember where you remember it for so many years later, look out for those photos. Weddings is definitely one of them.
And I think one aspect that we did not really touch upon, is the destination weddings, that's happening. I think you mentioned it,
Yeah.
but tell me, is there a synergy between that and the tourism sector in India? Can they impact each other? Are they already impacting each other?
There's a massive synergy. In fact, one of the recent initiatives of the Incredible India campaign by the Ministry of Tourism is India Says I Do, right? Which is a fantastic initiative in terms of encouraging the local audience, as well as NRIs, as well as maybe even the Western world, to consider India, which is, everybody is aware, so diverse as a country. There's so many options. It's not just a Goa or the palaces of Rajasthan which are relevant, right? Every state has maybe one or if not two locations which are relevant for a destination wedding with its own unique characteristics, right? So there's a massive synergy between weddings and tourism, right? And like I said, it also is a good way of sort of offsetting the seasonality aspect, where the last thing we would want to do in today's world with climate change and so on and stuff is doing over tourism, right? But there could be some relatively lean months where we've already seen a lot of destinations rolling out the red carpet for families planning a wedding, and that sort of making sense for them and helping them survive during those lean months as well.
Wonderful. Well, I think those were some really insightful takeaways, Anand. Thank you so much